G'day guys, welcome back. Here we go again with another round of AFL football tipping. We're up to round 10. The season is absolutely flying. So if you like these videos, please like and subscribe. As usual, I will also have Flash Grows tips here as well. So make sure you go over and show him some love, like and subscribe, and also like and subscribe to my channel. So let's have a quick recap about what happened over the weekend. So we had a really good game at the beginning of the round where the Tigers really put a bit of hurt on the Cats. I know the Cats wasted some early chances, but Richmond definitely looked like they're back to where they should be. But I think this is the last death knell for Richmond. This is like when you're just about to die and you do one more punch. So I still not bullish on Richmond. Geelong's still should have won the game, but Geelong aren't travelling all that well at the moment. But as I always say, beware of Geelong. They always seem to do the right things at the right time at the end of the year. So, but a big shock. Good win by Richmond. They played well, and good on them. The Suns absolutely destroyed West Coast in an absolutely shocking display by West Coast Eagles. Can we read anything into it? The only thing you can read into beating West Coast is that you have to beat them by 60 to 70 points to be in the upper echelon of the 8. So that's a good sign by the Suns. Couple of really good efforts by Rao, Anderson, Lukosius, but an all-round good game by the Suns, which is good to see. Take a bit of pressure off Stewie. Sydney were disappointing against Fremantle. Good to see Fremantle kick 100 points, which is what I rate. If you can kick 100 points, I think you're a pretty good team. Good to see that Fremantle actually got their structure back together. Good to see that their new draftee started doing what he should be doing. Jackson, he's highly talented. He's tall. He's athletic, and they need to start utilizing him better. Sydney are on the drift. I don't know what's going on there, but they definitely got the hangover from the grand final. North are pathetic, just like West Coast. So Port Adelaide, a much better team than North Melbourne, and they also suffered about 4 or 5 injuries North out of this. So Port, like I said last week, you have to beat these teams by 60 to 70 points. That's exactly what they did. I've tipped Port to come into the 8 this year. I'm actually starting to think that they're a little bit better than that. They're definitely in the top 5 teams at the moment. So good on Port. Melbourne destroyed Hawthorn like we knew that they would. All right, there's no upside, or there's nothing that we can learn out of Melbourne beating Hawks by this much. Melbourne could send out their under 8s and beat Hawthorn. Lions had a good win against the Essendon Football Club. Well, they were 15 points down at halftime, and then the Lions put the accelerator on, and it just shows you what these better teams can do to the also-round teams. Carlton were very disappointing against the Bulldogs. Bulldogs are a good team. They look good. Like I said last week, I think they have the 2 best midfielders in the game. They've got the Bont, and they've also got the Liberatore. Liberatore's underrated. So interesting to watch how those 2 continue to go through the year. Adelaide, as expected, had too much firepower for St Kilda. Like I said last week, if you can only kick 64 points against North Melbourne, you can't score. If you watch every St Kilda game for the last 3 years, they can't kick a goal unless it's in the box. Anything else, they can't kick a goal. and it was proved to be a correct prediction. And then, of course, the Pies paid to the GWS. Collingwood has just got too much talent for the GWS at the moment. Got too much talent for most teams at the moment. So I got 7 out of 9. Flash Crow got 6. I think he went Carlton to beat the Bulldogs, which was surprising. But anyway, that opens up a little tiny lead for me of 2 points. I think I'm at 56 now and he's at 54. So that was the recap. Pretty good games across the round. And if we have a look at the ladder, Collingwood's still on top. Melbourne, Brisbane, Port, St Kilda on the drift. Western Bulldogs are hanging on. Geelong are there. Adelaide Crows sneak back into the 8. Again, I'm pretty sure you can lock this 8 in. I can't see anyone else. Maybe Gold Coast. Gold Coast can start getting on a bit of a roll. I hope they do. I really do. I'm a Queenslander. I don't like the Gold Coast because I'm a Lions supporter, but they've been so long in the wilderness. It would be nice for their supporters just to play finals and give them a bit more hope and maybe get them into a destination club, because there's no place better on earth than the Gold Coast to live. And why they can't get more players to go up there or go down for me, but go down and play for the Suns. But anyway, let's get into our tips for round 10. I've had a quick look at the games, a couple of really interesting games, particularly this one. So we've got Friday night football, Adelaide Oval, Port Adelaide versus the D's. The D's aren't travelling that good. Port are flying at the moment, but we've got two of probably the best midfields going round at the moment. We've got Butters and we've got Oliver. We've got Gawn. I don't think Port have got the firepower and the ruck. Interesting. I think Port are playing really well, but this is the real test for them. They beat us in the first round, but I think that was a jump. I'm going to go Melbourne to win by 25 points. I like Port. I picked them to make the 8, but I don't think they're in the same class as Melbourne. Melbourne have so much talent all over the ground. Butters is playing really well. Finlayson's playing really well. Corn Francis is playing really well. So it's going to be a really interesting watch to see how the midfields stack up. But I think Viney and Petrarca and Oliver might just take control of that game, particularly with Gawn and Grundy. So let's go Melbourne to win by 25, but it's going to be a great game. North Melbourne against Sydney Swans. Now, if you asked me this 10 days ago, I would have turned around and said, well, Swans are going to win by 100,000 points. But maybe it's a warning game. I'm still going to go to the Swans because North Melbourne are not trying. Sydney Swans do try. They're just not connecting at the moment. They've got some buddy issues. We all don't like it. You hear it all throughout the commentary that he can't touch the ball. So maybe they need to do something a little bit different with Buddy Franklin, because we don't want him to just disappear into the night. He's a fantastic player, probably the best player I've ever seen in my life. I think he could be definitely up there. Definitely the most skillful player, but he's got a couple of challenges with Gary Jr. and Wayne Carey there. But we don't want to see a champion of the game just disappear into the moonlight. So hopefully the Swans can work something out with Buddy. Now a really great game between the Western Bulldogs and the Crows. I don't know why the Bulldogs would be favourites in this game. I can't see it. Adelaide have got so much firepower. They're a good defensive team. Western Bulldogs are not that good at defence. In fact, that's probably the one area that they need to clean up. So when you come up against a really good team, I think that the Adelaide Crows can just overpower their back line. So I'm going to go Adelaide there. Bulldogs are playing well, don't get me wrong. Okay, they're a quality team, and if they fire, they will push the Adelaide Crows. But Crows are playing really well at the moment, so I can see them consolidating their place in the 8 with a win there. Fremantle against Geelong. It's in Fremantle. I can't see Fremantle coming anywhere near Geelong. I know that Geelong have got a lot of injuries. Again, I don't rate Fremantle. I'm not picking them for the rest of the year. So we're going to go for Geelong. Then we go to the Q clash between the Lions and Gold Coast Suns. It's at the Gabba. If it was at Metricon or at their new place, Heritage Park or whatever they call it now, maybe a little bit different. Suns are playing well, but again, I think the Lions have too much firepower scoring wise, and the Suns have some really nice little players going around at the moment. I wish they had Took in their team because that would really just top off their midfield. But at the moment, I think the Lions are just a little bit too good for the Suns. Essendon Richmond is a really interesting game. So this is a warning game. I think Essendon can beat Richmond. I know Richmond played really well against Geelong, but like I said, I think it was a final punch from the death knell. They looked really good. Dusty looked really good. Cochin kicked 3 goals, which I don't think he's going to do for the rest of the year. And Essendon are playing well, and they're a little bit sneaky, Essendon. If you have a look into their stats, they're actually they're doing quite well. They're just not defending. So if they can clean up the defence, their attacking from back 50 is really good, probably 1 or 2 in the league, and their scoring from back 50 is probably 1 and 2 in the league. So I'm going to go Essendon. I think they can learn a little bit about, as they're going through, learn about their mistakes. Then a flip of the coin match between Hawthorn and the Eagles. Another warning game here for Hawthorn. So there's been a lot said about the Hawthorn Football Club in the last week. Maybe that might upset them a bit. West Coast are playing all right. Kelly's playing really well at the moment. Hawthorn are playing well. I like Hawthorn. I rate Hawthorn in a couple of years. But I think this might be a bit of a warning game. You get a little bit, you can get a bit flustered when you're in the media. They do play UTAS really well, but I'm going to go an absolute upset here. I'm going to go West Coast Eagles. Now, the one reason why I'm doing this is because my wife has a rule that she's going to go all the way through the gauntlet by picking any team that plays West Coast Eagles, and she's been successful so far, so I'm going to go against her. Also, here we go again. So we go to the Sunday at the MCG, big match between Carlton and Collingwood. Another warning match. Now, there's no way in the world you would pick Carlton against Collingwood with the recent form. But these big matches, I think you need to throw the form book away. players play for games like this and they pick up. Carlton have got a lot of improvement in them. I think Collingwood are not as good as what everyone thinks they are. I know everyone's saying they're wonderful and cup favourites and all that sort of stuff, but we beat them, and I've seen them be not the best at certain times. And I know what this is like when you've got a good team and you're on a roll. It might be just good for Collingwood just to get a loss halfway through the season just to reinvigorate them. So I'm going to go Carlton here in an upset. Big match, big afternoon, and just to curb Collingwood, and these sorts of things happen all the time. So let's go the Blue Baggers to top off Collingwood, hopefully by a point. And then we've got another warning match. So Giants Stadium, Giants versus the Saints. The Saints are on the slip. They're not that impressive. I know that they're a good defensive team, but you can't win games by stopping goals. You need to kick goals. Like I keep saying, they can't kick a goal unless it's in the box. This is a real test for St Kilda. Now, you would think that, this is an easy game for St Kilda, but I'm going to go GWS at home. I know they haven't won at home for the last 4,000 years, but they're actually playing pretty good football. King's back for St Kilda, but I don't rate the King brothers. I think they're overpaid and they're a waste of time. Toby Green is back. I would give up 15 King brothers for one Toby Green. So if he comes back, he can be a game changer for them. They're actually playing quite well. Again, it might depend on the weather conditions at Giants Stadium. Sometimes you can get a little bit blustery there, which can put teams off. The Giants have been pretty competitive this year. So let's go for the Giants in another upset to beat St Kilda. So I'm going out on a limb this week, trying to put some space between me and Flash Crow. It's either going to be fantastic or it's going to be absolutely horrendous. But I think that there's some good opportunity for a couple of teams here. So that Essendon against Richmond is definitely a roughie. West Coast against Eagles is a roughie. Carlton against Collingwood is a roughie. Giants against St Kilda is a roughie. So there we go, guys. Like I said, I'll leave Flash Crow's tips underneath as I'm going through the video. I hope your team wins. It's just a personal opinion, so don't get too upset if I didn't pick your team. Good luck, and we will catch you in the next one. See you then.